Wherever aspires.
This is my home.
Freedom.
This is my home.
Family.
This is my home.
Joy.
This is my home.
Love. Welcome to my
Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay, Florida. No place else.
Marrying for money on the next Oprah show.
This is Eyewitness News with Marianne Childers, Joel Daly for John Drury, Steve Dessler's weather, Tim Weigel with sports, and the Eyewitness News team. This is Eyewitness News.
Good evening. It appears tonight that the Persian Gulf War is about to end. In less than an hour, American and coalition forces will stop all offensive combat. President Bush made that announcement after declaring that Kuwait was liberated and Iraq's army defeated.
Tonight, the Kuwaiti flag once again flies above the capital of a free and sovereign nation, and the American flag flies above our embassy.
During a nationally televised address from the White House, the president said the Allied coalition has succeeded in expelling Iraq from Kuwait. He said that in return for the ceasefire, the coalition expects Iraq to end all hostilities, release prisoners of war and foreign nationals, and return the remains of those killed in the war, reveal the location of all sea and land mines, comply with all United Nations resolutions pertaining to the conflict, including those against Iraq's annexation of Kuwait, and requiring Iraq to pay compensation for the damage it inflicted.
This suspension of offensive combat operations is contingent upon Iraq's not firing upon any coalition forces and not launching Scud missiles against any other country. If Iraq violates these terms, coalition forces will be free to resume military operations.
Iraq state radio began broadcasting Thursday saying, "This is Baghdad, the voice of dignity and pride. From Baghdad, the graveyard of the criminal invaders." The broadcast made no mention of tonight's address by President Bush.
Marianne, tonight, joyous Kuwaitis are celebrating the liberation of their country and thanking the United States for leading the fight against Iraq's aggression. ABC's Sam Donaldson is now in Kuwait City, and he reports on how Kuwaiti citizens are reacting to their freedom.
Billowing black smoke fills the sky and casts a pall even at midday over all of Kuwait, or at least most of it. And you see it in the public buildings that the Iraqis torched as they got out of town last Sunday and Monday as they were withdrawing, putting the buildings that were part of the ministries, part of the governmental operations here to the torch if they could. But there's another thing you see here in Kuwait, and it's just the opposite. You see in the face of the people that their spirit has not been broken. They welcome the liberation armies. They welcome the civilians that came behind them, in their scarves and waving their flags, big smiles on their faces. And you sense when you talk to them that they're going to rebuild this country rather quickly. Oh, it'll take time and it'll take untold billions of dollars. But the spirit is here to do just that. So in summary, two things strike a reporter in Kuwait today. One, the attempt by Iraq to devastate this country, to some extent successful. But two, the strength and spirit of the people of Kuwait to rebuild their country and to live again.
Channel 7's Paul Mikey is now on his way to Kuwait City, and we hope to begin his reports tomorrow.
Joel, the Allied Forces commander talked about the ground war today, saying his troops could have driven right into Baghdad and destroyed the country had it been their intention. General Norman Schwarzkopf also described how the last great battle of the war took place in southern Iraq earlier today, with hundreds of U.S. tanks in pitched battle with the three most powerful divisions of Iraq's Republican Guard. Pentagon officials say virtually all of the Iraqi tanks were destroyed by tank fire and aircraft, and that only scattered infantry units now remain. Schwarzkopf said he's proud of his soldiers, and the 56-year-old general offered his assessment of Saddam Hussein as a military leader.
As far as Saddam Hussein being a great military strategist, he is neither a strategist, nor is he schooled in the operational art, nor is he a tactician, nor is he a general, nor is he as a soldier. Other than that, he's a great military man. I want you to know that.
Military experts have marveled at this ground war, saying never has a force inflicted so much damage in this short a period of time and sustained so few casualties. Tonight, U.S. casualty totals are 79 killed in action, including 28 killed in the Scud attack Monday in Saudi Arabia.
We'll have more on the war and reaction to its end. But in other news tonight, a series of accidents on a California highway being blamed on a blinding dust storm. Blowing dirt and debris triggered 3 pileups involving 70 vehicles. Emergency crews treated 36 people. They had to be extricated, some of them from the twisted wreckage. Police say there was 0 visibility, and they were forced to close all lanes of Highway 58 near downtown Bakersfield. That's 100 miles north of Los Angeles. And tonight, the driver of a tractor-trailer truck that drove through a Northbrook railroad crossing is being charged with several traffic violations. And investigators are doubting his story about what he says caused an accident that derailed a Metro commuter train. Jim Rosenfield reports.
Less than 7 hours after coming to rest on its side in a north suburban backyard, the cab car of the 4-car commuter train was righted. Metro officials say it will probably be rebuilt. What they don't know for certain yet is exactly why the driver of a tractor-trailer swerved around a line of cars stopped at the railroad crossing at Dundee and Meadow at about 11:30 a.m. The cab of the truck made it, but the trailer did not. The impact split the trailer in 2 and scattered its load of plungers everywhere.
I didn't think it was going to stop. It just kept coming, and, you know, we're terrified.
3 cars of the southbound train derailed. The nearly 20 injuries came from the lead car. None was critical. Most people sustained cuts, bumps, and bruises as the train flipped over.
People started screaming. Next thing I know, the entire train just starts spinning. I was thrown out of my chair to the other side of the train.
Local police say the truck driver, who was not injured, told authorities his brakes failed. But a Metro accident investigator told Eyewitness News he doubts that was the sole cause of the accident. As part of their preliminary investigation, Northbrook police have now charged the driver, identified as 42-year-old James Johnson of Gary, Indiana, with 3 traffic violations: disobeying a railroad signal gate, operating his vehicle with unsafe equipment, namely his brakes, and driving in the wrong lane of traffic. Metro officials say by morning all of the derailed cars should be cleared out of here. As a matter of fact, some of them will be put back into service for morning commuters. Reporting from Northbrook, Jim Rosenfield, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And the good news tonight, only 2 of the 19 injured passengers are still hospitalized.
Still ahead tonight, we'll have local reaction to President Bush's declaration of an Allied victory. Also, the Senate Ethics Committee decides which of the Keating 5 were at fault. And here in Chicago, the voters decide which candidates stay and which go. We'll review the election.
I want to thank you for allowing Maggie and myself.
Eat light, eat right with great Jewel values. Add good taste to Lenten menu plans with Jewel's Orange Ruffy Fillets, just $2.99 a pound. Reap a harvest of freshness with imported Friar plums, only 69 cents a pound. Or enjoy the sweet, juicy flavor of O. Henry peaches, just 69 cents a pound. For healthy menu choices.
If you want to improve the value of your home, studies show remodeling your kitchen brings one of the best returns of all. This Marilat kitchen is from KDA. At every KDA, you'll see full-size displays, name-brand appliances, and time-saving Marilat features. You'll get a great price, professional design, and delivery in just 2 days. KDA gives you the kitchen of your dreams with the kind of solid value your family deserves.
KDA for the heart of your home.
What are you looking for in a new car?
A good car at a good deal. Is that too much to ask?
How about Pontiac Grand Am, America's best-selling compact car for just $99.90?
Pontiac Grand Am, of course.
And that's a Grand Am with air, automatic, stereo, and more, just $99.90.
Yeah, Pontiac's the answer.
For your $99.90 Grand Am, hurry to your Chicagoland Northwestern Indiana Pontiac dealer.
The Senate Ethics Committee has made its judgment in the case of the so-called Keating 5. The committee says there is, quote, substantial, credible evidence that California Democrat Alan Cranston committed major ethical violations in the Lincoln S&L scandal. The panel says no further action is needed against the 4 other so-called Keating 5 senators.
In Chicago politics tonight, Mayor Daley and his running mates are the undisputed winners of Tuesday's primary election. But the political path is very different for a record number of city council candidates now facing runoffs. Here's Andy Shaw.
Every election provides us with pictures of victory and defeat, followed by a stab at what it all means. And yesterday's citywide primary is no exception, with highlights including a dubious distinction for Marlene Carter, the only incumbent alderman to lose. Ted Mazzola is the only new alderman, replacing Fred Rohde in the 1st Ward, but there's runoffs in a record 18 wards, including veterans like Timothy Evans and Roman Puczynski. As for Larry Bloom, he wins an award that's 75% black, proving that competence can be more important than race once in a while. The election also provides us with something of a paradox. Mayor Daley winning the Democratic primary in a landslide over Danny Davis and Jane Byrne, making him look like an easy victor in the April general election, except for the fact that voter turnout was the lowest for a contested primary since the Depression. Because of that, the Harold Washington Party is talking about mounting a serious challenge to Daley after they decide on a candidate capable of exploiting the anti-Daley sentiment around the city.
I think the community will firmly be behind the candidate selected by the Harold Washington Party, and I think that anyone who's running for office who expects votes from that community will be in the same position.
I've enjoyed being mayor, and I enjoyed working with all the people, and I don't care who they voted for or supported. I just want to move this city forward.
Mayor Daley did get 15% of the black vote yesterday, and his campaign is hoping to at least duplicate that in April and to increase voter turnout among their supporters. Andy Shaw, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Chicago voters can register for that April 2nd election through next Tuesday at public libraries and the Board of Elections, or with the deputy registrars in their wards.
Well, later on tonight, a pair of promising Cub pitchers try to bounce back from injuries. Mark Shanowski reports from Arizona.
First some snow and then some rain. Yes, it's true. Details about the Chicago forecast in a couple of seconds. First, some other locations around the country and their forecasts for Thursday.
To take me away. This land takes me so far away, and I find I'm in a different state of mind. I find I'm in a different state of mind. I'm in a different state of mind.
Step into a new home life. The Home Life Furniture Store by Sears. Home to more styles and selection, more brand names, more rooms full of beautiful furniture and great ideas for your home. All at the kind of prices only Sears buying power could offer. And right now, all our bedding is on sale. Every mattress from all the best names. Sealy Posturepedic, Simmons Beauty Rest, Spring Air Back Supporter. All on sale, but only through Saturday. At all 7 Home Life locations here in Chicago.
Now get fresh with 8 pieces of that original New Orleans-style chicken. Only $5.99 at Popeye.
Now that's New Orleans, neighbor.
Tonight on Nightline, Ted Koppel reports live from the Gulf. As the Allied steamroller engages what's left of the Iraqi army, Saddam looks for a way out tonight.
Maybe winter will end tonight. So many things are coming to a conclusion.
It would be nice, except there are some clouds just around the area that are producing some snowflakes downstate, which may brush by here. Here's today's weather in motion. The most impressive thing is out in the west coast. These clouds producing some rain showers along portions of California, producing some significant amounts of rain. Clouds late tonight are posing a threat to us from the south. There are some snow showers down near Kankakee. There could be an accumulation there, as well as in Chicago. A quick burst of snow by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. There will be fading flakes and then some rising temperatures. At 7 o'clock, 28 degrees. At Beverly Shores now, it's 30. At Diamond Lake, 26 degrees. At Joliet, 31. The lakefront temperature, 33. 30 now for Midway, and 26 degrees for O'Hare. South winds, the chill factor at 20. The barometer on the way down. Humidity, 78%. Today's high was 32. And the low so far has been 17. The record low is -6 in 1897. Tonight's sunset at 5:39. It'll rise tomorrow at 6:30. Here's the current Midwestern satellite shot. These brighter clouds down to our south are where there are some snowflakes flying right now. It's gradually pushing toward the north. There is a warm front down to our south. Big difference in temperature. 48 degrees at St. Louis, 26 degrees here, even some 50s back across the plains. There will be a warm push for us here in the next 24 hours. Thursday's forecast reflects that, with the front just about on us, windy and warmer behind the front. Some initial snowflakes followed by rising temperatures. Tomorrow's highs in the 40s, 50s not far behind. Forecast for us for tonight, variably cloudy skies, snow flurries at times. Southwest winds, low 24. Tomorrow, flurries and then some sunshine. Windy, warmer, high 46. Tomorrow night, increasing clouds, breezy, mild, low temperature 36. Following day, 50 degrees with rain developing, windy and mild, gusty southwest winds. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, a mixed bag, 45 on Saturday with rain showers. It all tapers off to flurries on Sunday with a high of 37 and 38 degrees and partly sunny skies just in time for the work week to start on Monday.
Not a bad start to March, though.
Not too bad. Could always be worse.
Isn't that true of everything?
Yes.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
After a break, tennis's bad boy takes aim at the Volvo International title at the Pavilion. That and all the sports coming up next.
Okay, let's say that last month, between that unexpected change in the weather and that raise you could actually see for once, and those 12 charges you made, your finances were all over the place. Well, if you had a City One account, you could sum up that whole incredible month in one place. All those transfers and checks, how much you charged and saved, right there on one simple statement. Looking at banking through your eyes. It makes a difference you can see at a glance. Not just banking, City Banking.
Recently, Acura introduced what many have called the greatest sports car the world has ever known. Our latest idea is somewhat bigger, the new Acura Legend.
I lent my car to my brother, and he demolished it. 2 years old, didn't have a scratch. Funny, about a month before my agent had recommended this extra keeper coverage, $21 more a year. I remember thinking, well, I probably don't need it, but if you think so, turns out they gave me a brand new car, this year's model.
Country companies. It's nice to know when it matters most. The country is behind you.
Guess it's just a matter of trust.
Volvo's got quite a racket going for him. Or even more than one.
Well, Marianne and Joel, we don't have Stefan Edberg or Yvonne Lendl or Boris Becker or Michael Chang or Pete Sampras, but there is John McEnroe to cheer for, so let's go to the videotape from the pavilion. Johnny Mac, the #1 seed, even though he's only ranked 19th in the world, in the near court against Ramesh Krishnan. Ooh, and what is a McEnroe match without at least one tantrum? Fans were surprised, well, not surprised, they were happy to find there were several tantrums and a McEnroe victory. He won 7-5, 6-3. He advances to the third round, so the Volvo tennis tournament still has its top seed alive. Now to the NBA. At the Spectrum in Philadelphia, Hersey Hawkins with the ball in the three-pointer. He's the Chicago native, had 24 points tonight against the Atlanta Hawks. A couple teams the Bulls might meet in the playoffs. Dominique Wilkins loses it. It's going to wind up a Hersey Hawkins slam, and Atlanta's 3-game winning streak is snapped. They've lost 12 of their last 14 games on the road. Philadelphia wins 107-103. Larry Bird had 35 for Boston. The Celtics recovered from the thrashing the Bulls gave them last night. Dallas over Indiana. In college ball, a couple of key games. LSU a winner. Well, they're not real key games, but they're kind of important. Nebraska lost to Oklahoma State. That's Oklahoma State, not Oklahoma. And Duke beat Clemson. In the NHL, Montreal lost to Detroit. The Red Wings are getting hot. Washington and the Rangers tie, and New Jersey lost to Toronto. And St. Louis may have beaten the Blackhawks last night, but they lost goaltender Curtis Joseph for at least a month with a sprained knee. Rookie Pat Jablonski did a great job replacing Joseph, but the Blues are going to be hurting without their top goaltender. Now, the Hawks may also lose Jocelyn Lemieux. He had a concussion sustained in practice, but Captain Dirk Graham told Brad Palmer they lost last night's game because they lost their desire.
They wanted a little bit more in the third period, and I think it showed. And, you know, that's something that, you know, if we want to regain first place overall, that we're going to have to get back inside us is the will to win late in the game.
Well, Bull star Scottie Pippen missed practice today with an upset stomach. But it's Scottie's feelings that are really hurting, not his stomach. Pippen continues to grouse the Bulls are not paying him enough, and he wants a contract extension. Now, it's very ironic. Since he went public with his complaint, Pippen has scored 43 against Charlotte and 33 last night against the Celtics.
My statement still stands until the organization does something. I mean, I'm going to go out and play and do well for my team as long, you know, as I think is possible. You know, I just hope, you know, that it's time for them to start making their move.
Yeah, but if Scottie keeps scoring so many points, the Bulls might want to keep him unhappy at least for a while. Well, let's hope not. Cubs superstar Ryne Sandberg today officially rejected the Cubs' latest contract extension offer. They offered 3 more years at $4 million a year. Rhino wants $5 million a year. Anyway, as Mark Shanowski reports from Arizona, the Cubs are now more concerned about the health of a pair of young pitchers.
Last season, Sean Bosky and Mike Harkey burst out of the scene with impressive performances during their rookie years. Bosky pitched a complete Game 5 hitter in his Major League debut, while Harkey was one of the top rookies in the league, finishing with a 12-6 record. Unfortunately, injuries ended their seasons early, and now the young pitchers are trying to bounce back this spring. Bosky from minor elbow surgery, and Harkey from a sore shoulder.
So far, so good. You know, it's only 2 days into it. We'll see what happens when the game starts.
I'm really encouraged right now. I threw the second day. I felt better than I did yesterday. So as far as the elbow goes, it's not going to be a factor.
With at least 8 viable candidates for spots in the starting rotation this spring, both Harkey and Bosky realize they may not have a spot on this ball club, but they're looking forward to the competition this spring.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting and very competitive. Everybody's looking forward to not just see who can pitch the most innings, but to see who can contribute.
From what I hear, the Cubs are excited about me being one of the pitchers in their starting rotation, and I feel that I can do the job. I have a good idea of what to expect in the major leagues with the experience I got last year.
Yes, there's a lot of competition for spots in the starting rotation this spring, but with youth and talent on their side, Harkey and Bosky are good bets to be Chicago fixtures for a long time to come. In Mesa, Mark Shanowski, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Sean Bosky might be the B.J. Armstrong of baseball. Incidentally, you White Sox fans, Sammy Sosa reported for duty in Sarasota. The authorities in the Dominican Republic finally let him out of the country. He was alleged to have hit his wife over the head with a rum bottle, and they had him under house arrest, but they let him out to play baseball.
Kept the bottle.
I don't have any idea what happened, Joel. I'm not passing any judgments. I just know he was in a little trouble, and now he's back playing ball.
I'm glad of that. Opening day for the Cubs, what, April 6th?
I have to look at my schedule. Floyd.
Why? I'm sorry.
I think it's the first week in April. Look, the Sox opener is way late because of the Comiskey Park being made ready.
Look it up.
In just a moment, an update on this day's developments in the Gulf War.
Remember your 4 food groups.
Recent years has seen a remarkable improvement in the nutritional health of America, thanks in part to the 4 food groups.
Introducing Basic 4, that delicious new cereal that with milk gives you the basic goodness from the 4 food groups, like you never tasted them before. New Basic 4 cereal.
We have seen the future.
And it tastes great.
You have probably heard a lot about these, but never actually seen one. Radio ratings. The numbers. The stuff of celebrations for some, and quick tickets out of town for others. Most have had something in common over the years. They have consistently named one station #1. This one, Chicago's favorite, WGN. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Buick, the American car line ranked most trouble-free, was the hit of this year's auto show, with showstoppers like the all-new Buick Park Avenue. Now, Buick quality and style is a bigger value than ever during your Better Buick dealer's Showstopper Savings Days. Every beautiful new Buick in stock is marked down to move, so you'll get a great price. Then get up to $2,000 factory cash back on selected Buick models. But you'd better hurry. Showstopper Savings Days end soon. See your Better Buick dealer. Do it today.
Every business morning, while the rest of the world is getting up, UPS is guaranteeing overnight delivery before 10:30 to the most people, places, and businesses for up to half what other companies charge. And every business morning, more people are waking up to that fact.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Recapping today's key developments in the Persian Gulf War.
The United States and coalition forces will suspend offensive combat operations.
President Bush says a permanent ceasefire would be implemented once Iraq complies with all United Nations resolutions. Joyous Kuwaitis cheer as their country is liberated from Iraq. Allied Forces Commander Norman Schwarzkopf ridicules Saddam Hussein as U.S. forces trap and outgun Iran's elite Republican Guard in fierce tank battles. Also, the UN Security Council rejected Iraq's latest peace proposal. Great Britain's ambassador says Iraq must comply with all the UN resolutions. And the Soviet ambassador says that further Allied fighting is not necessary since Iraq's army is out of Kuwait and almost destroyed.
The president's declaration of victory came, of course, just 4 days after the massive ground assault began on Iraqi troops, but it was a message that families of U.S. troops have been waiting months to hear. Tonight, Linda Yu talked to relatives of soldiers from Elmwood Park.
There was joy, relief, tears, and hugs as 3 families welcomed the president's words. The Voltzes don't know the exact spot in Saudi Arabia the daughter Valerie has been, but they do know what is in their hearts tonight.
For the first time in my life, I realized what it means to be free and to live in a free country.
Liz Terry's thoughts are with her 2 Marine sons, Kelly and Chris, and the president's words meant a great deal to all the families.
And may God bless the United States of America.
The tears of joy soon gave way to a new determination for these families that whenever the soldiers come home, they will still get the message that there was support for them here. Ann Kamuka, who wears a yellow ribbon for son Anthony, wants all the yellow ribbons to remain in place.
And he can come home and see all the yellow ribbons and all the American flags. We did support those troops.
Linda Yu, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
That's Eyewitness News at 10. What a marvelous day this has been.
That's right. Paul Meinke is headed to Kuwait City, and we hope to have reports from him beginning tomorrow.
Enjoy tonight. It's a great night. Thank you for being with us.
Good night.
A punch thrown by Razor Ruddock knocked out Bone Crusher Smith for 7 minutes. Mike Tyson couldn't even knock Smith down. Another punch laid out Michael Dokes for 12 minutes. Dokes may never fight again. A lot of fighters won't get in the ring with Ruddock, but then who in their right mind would? Tyson versus Ruddock, live from the Mirage, March 18th. See it on pay-per-view cable TV.
How do I know where to get my brakes done right?
Come to Midas. There's a lot of value in our $59 or $79 basic brake service. And you get something else. Peace of mind. Knowing you get a thorough inspection by Midas-trained experts and a written estimate up front. Knowing every brake shoe and pad is guaranteed for as long as you own your car. And knowing the job will be done right. That's why more people come to us for brakes, knowing that nobody beats Midas. Nobody.
How long does it take to get a really good workout? I used to work out for an hour and a half with machines and free weights. That was then. This is now. I switched to the 30-minute workout with that amazing light circuit equipment.
For total fitness, join Chicago Health Club now for just $24 a month. Call 1-800-695-7777. Some restrictions apply.
Is 30 minutes enough? You tell me.
How much would you pay for a McDonald's hamburger?
About $2.
Like $1.25.
McDonald's announces a big change. Is that right, starting now? From now on, you can get our juicy original hamburger for just 59 cents.
Wow.
Or a delicious sausage biscuit for breakfast for just 79 cents.
Somebody's pulling my leg.
McDonald's regular hamburger now just 59 cents. McDonald's sausage biscuit now just 79 cents.
Not bad.
Any time of the day, you'll love the change at McDonald's. Excellent.
Stay with the experience of ABC News and Eyewitness News for more local and national news coverage from the Middle East to the Midwest. Channel 7 Eyewitness News, monitoring the crisis in the Middle East with our own reporters, plus covering events right here at home, with stories that go beyond the Gulf, from Chicago politics to the economy, to stories that touch your heart. Eyewitness News and ABC News, Chicago's #1 news. Anthony Quinn is a pirate with his eye on Rita Hayworth, late night tonight.
The word came from the Oval Office in the White House and reverberated throughout the war zone.
This war is now behind us. Ahead of us is the difficult task of securing a potentially historic peace.
The president's speech and reaction from Washington, the United Nations, Kuwait, and here in Saudi Arabia are our main focus tonight.
This is ABC News Nightline, reporting from Saudi Arabia with the latest on the Gulf War. Ted Koppel.
It was almost an anticlimax. From the Oval Office at the White House this evening, President Bush formally announced what television viewers around the world have already seen.
Kuwait is liberated. Iraq's army is defeated. Our military objectives are met. Kuwait is once more in the hands of Kuwaitis in control of their own destiny. I am pleased to announce that at midnight tonight, Eastern Standard Time, exactly 100 hours since ground operations commenced and 6 weeks since the start of Operation Desert Storm, all United States and coalition forces will suspend offensive combat operations. We've already done a good deal of thinking and planning for the post-war period, and Secretary Baker has already begun to consult with our coalition partners on the region's challenges. There can be and will be no solely American answer to all these challenges, but we can assist and support the countries of the region and be a catalyst for peace. In this spirit, as Secretary Baker will go to the region next week to begin a new round of consultations.
For the moment, then, the president has shifted the world's attention away from the combat zone and into the diplomatic arena at the Security Council of the United Nations. Joining us there live is ABC correspondent David Ensor. David, what precisely is happening at the Security Council this evening? What action are they expected to take?
Ted, we've just heard that they are expected to have a closed-door formal session tonight where they will probably hear from the Iraqi ambassador. Ambassador Al-Anbari told ABC News earlier this evening that he has now received word from Baghdad that he's authorized to promise that the Iraqi government will comply with all 12 of the UN resolutions. And a letter to that effect has been delivered here. A British diplomat also confirms that fact. So the diplomatic process moves to another step here. And of course, President Bush mentioned in his speech earlier that there are other requirements besides the 12 resolutions that will have to be met, and that some of those will be addressed at the UN Security Council. So there's a lot of work coming up in the business of peace, the end game after the war. And that is going to be going on here. Ted?
David, among the things that the president mentioned as being required of Iraq, if indeed the ceasefire is to remain in place, is the immediate return of POWs, the return of apparently an unknown number of Kuwaitis who may have been taken by the Iraqis into Iraq. What indications did Ambassador Al-Anbari give this evening that those conditions were also going to be met?
No indications at all, Ted. He's not authorized to say anything on that yet. I would point out, though, that other diplomats here on the Allied side say that given that the Allies hold a large piece of Iraqi territory, they don't expect a whole lot of trouble on those issues.
And in terms of what's going to happen tonight and in the immediate days ahead, is all the diplomatic action going to be at the UN Security Council?
I don't know, but I think that there will be a fair amount of attention paid here. There's also, of course, the issue of peacekeeping forces, and they're working on that here now, forces that might go along the Kuwaiti-Iraqi border, among other places.
Is there, in fact, any work that has already been done about the nature of those forces? Will they, in other words, be UN forces not made up of those already in the region, or would they be made up of coalition forces already here?
I know that, that officials up on the top floor here have been working on it and are ready to come up with a proposal for thousands of UN forces, if that is what the Security Council and the Allies decide that's what they want.
All right, David Ensor at the UN, thank you very much. As the President prepared to speak earlier this evening, we went to a nearby airbase here in eastern Saudi Arabia to talk with a number of troopers and airmen who had the opportunity to watch the President's remarks live on television.
It's not that there was any less interest in what the President would have to say among U.S. forces in eastern Saudi Arabia, but 9 p.m. Washington time was, after all, 5 o'clock in the morning here. Lying next to one of the cots, a hometown newspaper, only 4 days old, but already ages out of date.
Our military objectives are met. Kuwait is once more in the hands of Kuwaitis in control of their own destiny.
Those airmen and soldiers who were awake listened intently to the President's message.
All United States and coalition forces will suspend offensive combat operations.
What he had to say, after all, will have no more direct impact on any Americans than on those here in the combat theater. Still, after hearing the speech, reaction could best be described as restraint.
Isn't there any sense of relief? I don't want to say jubilation, but a little bit of relief?
Well, Saddam's had a track record that doesn't lend itself to a lot of jubilation. I think that the President's given him another opportunity to extricate himself from a bad situation, and if he chooses to do so, it'll be wonderful. Then you'll see the exultation.
A lot of us don't think maybe that he will do that. It's not a clear-cut victory right now, so for a lot of the troops here, it's not like immediate, okay, we can pack up the bags and go home. It's more like to sit and wait and see what Saddam does from now on.
Until we're actually out of here, that's when I believe it.
It's not all finished. I mean, there's still a lot of cleanup action to do. We've still got to be ready, and that's our job, to be ready. And we're going to continue doing our job until we decide, or the President decides to pull us out of here and take us home.
It is not yet midnight, Washington time, and as you may be able to hear, some of those combat missions are still underway. I'll be back.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Ford.
Know our assignment and go out and do it with some aggressiveness.
Why is it that some people constantly manage to reach heights others can only dream of? A few towns in western Pennsylvania have produced more football legends than any other place.
We play with poison.
Dan Marino.
We know at the end of this game.
Johnny Unitas. George Blanda. What is it about these towns that gives birth to such greatness? Fierce pride, tradition, an obsession with excellence, the very things that drive us at Ford. When leadership is in your blood, you push yourself to greater and greater heights. Our 1991 four-door Explorer and Escort have recorded the highest customer satisfaction ratings in our history. And starting right now, you'll be seeing more new models and exciting innovations from Ford and Lincoln Mercury than you've seen in years. America fell in love with Ford in the 80s, and we're going to be even tougher to beat in the 90s. Ford Motor Company.
Some things just go together in the morning.
Hey, Kat, have you seen this tape we got in this morning?
This is the greatest story.
We've got to get it in the show.
They work better together.
For the next couple of days, clouds that we now have in the northern plains, I think will be moving out, and weather around Chicago should be great.
They become part of your routine.
So they've got all lanes open now inbound in the Kennedy at Belmont.
Get together with Eyewitness News this morning. Tomorrow at 6:30 on Channel 7.
What are you looking for in a new car?
A good car at a good deal. Is that too much to ask?
How about Pontiac Grand Am, America's best-selling compact car for just $99.90.
Pontiac Grand Am, of course.
And that's a Grand Am with air, automatic, stereo, and more, just $99.90.
Yeah, Pontiac's the answer.
For your $99.90 Grand Am, hurry to your Chicagoland Northwestern Indiana Pontiac dealer.
What should happen to Saddam Hussein when the war is over? Average Americans and experts tell what price they think he should pay. Watch Primetime Thursday.
And we are back live once again, reporting from eastern Saudi Arabia. A little bit later in this program, we'll be going live to my colleague, Farah Sawyer, in Kuwait City. And we hope also to be able to go to Bill Blakemore in Baghdad. In just a few minutes, I'll be talking with the Speaker of the House, Thomas Foley, and with Senator Alan Simpson, the Minority Senate Whip. But joining me now live here in Saudi Arabia is Marine Corps Major Pilot John Rader. That was sort of an awkward way of putting it. You fly F-18s?
Yes, sir.
When's the last time you flew?
Yesterday.
And what kinds of targets did you hit? Is it all right to talk about that kind of thing now?
We were in the northern end of Kuwait monitoring the retrograde of the retreat and any combat targets, tanks, artillery, anything that could still affect the ground troops, we went after.
I mean, effectively, for the last few days, possibly even for the last couple of weeks, is there even any anti-aircraft fire? Is anyone going after you guys?
We were still taking some. It's abated, obviously, since when we first started, but there was some resistance.
Did you see any movement among Iraqi troops, or were you essentially hitting stationary targets?
We were going after the ones that were moving. At this point, we were beginning to think that the ones that were stationary might well be abandoned. And in a sense, we were tasked with trying to find movement to see if there was going to be any counterattack or anything like that.
Has there been any counterattack in the last couple of days?
Not that I know of.
And when they're moving, or any of them moving north into, you still hear some of these missions, that sounds more like a cargo plane than a fighter plane.
A little bigger.
Yeah. Has there been any evidence of the troops retreating into Iraq? And as far as your orders were concerned, were you able to go after those guys too?
Well, the area where we were working, they were moving north, but that was towards the Army. So in a sense, all the directions they were headed were towards friendlies. So again, anyone that was moving, we went after.
All right, Major Rader, what I'd like to do is to draw your attention to the screen now. We're going to take a look at some video that was shot from a helicopter, aerial video of the Kuwaiti Theater of Operations. And I guess what we're looking at there is some burning oil wells. Did you see many of those that you flew over the area?
Oh, absolutely. That was one of our biggest problems, was being able to see enemy targets around the smoke.
Can you just describe for me, you probably see it from much higher up, what does that look like to you?
It looks like a self-propelled gun. That would be something that we would go after typically. It's hard to see in these pictures. That's a dug-in battle tank. Notice it's dug into the sand, pretty hard to see from altitude.
Did you ever see, I mean, did you see the troops themselves? Did you see any people on the march trying to make their way out? Or are you seeing, for the most part, just artillery and APCs and tanks?
The speeds at which we fly, we were seeing only the vehicles moving themselves. We could pick up both sides and could monitor the good guys and the bad guys.
Now, it looks like a tremendous amount of damage was done there. That looked like some kind of storage
oil tanker or something.
Yeah. And can you tell what this is?
I have no idea what that is.
I can't either. Let me just ask you very quickly. You've now heard what President Bush had to say. Sense of relief, sense of jubilation, or just a sense of caution, as we heard from some of those other men and women?
I'd love to be ecstatic. We'll have to wait and see, but it'd be great if it was over.
Major Rader, very kind of you to join us. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to switch now to Washington and to get a, I guess a more official reaction now to the events of this day, and most particularly to what the President had to say this evening. I'm going to switch now to Senator Alan Simpson. Senator Simpson, does it sound to you as though it's all over but the shouting now?
I don't think that the President would have addressed the nation in that fashion if he were not very confident that it was. But I want to congratulate that man sitting next to you and these remarkable people in our armed services who bring us a sense of pride that we haven't had in this country for many a year. It's very, very special, and I do not think the President in any way would have done such a remarkable address to the nation unless he knew very well that this was pretty well it.
Congressman Foley, give us a sense of what we ought to be on the alert for. What dangers still lie ahead? I don't necessarily even mean here in the combat theater, but what dangers lie ahead on the diplomatic front?
Well, it appears that Iraq is ready to agree to the UN resolutions, and that will bring the beginning, at least, of the end of this whole long process of several months. I certainly join with Senator Simpson in thinking that we all owe our forces a great debt of gratitude. But the difficult part of establishing the peace in the region and the security arrangements that must protect the region from further risks such as the one brought about by Saddam Hussein may be a more difficult problem. And the United States and the coalition acting through the United Nations will attempt to establish some principles of arms restraint and attempt to encourage a settlement of long-standing disputes between Israel and Palestinians and others in the region. And we can only hope that the splendid military victory will be followed by impressive diplomatic success, but that remains to be seen. How Iraq will be governed, I don't think we would be wise to attempt to occupy Iraq or to establish a government there under UN or under coalition sanction. But if Saddam Hussein does not bring any under attack any other countries, he has to face his own people and explain to them why he's brought them to this condition of ruin. So there are many difficult problems ahead.
Senator Simpson, let me ask you, one of the unspoken items on the agenda has seemed to be, over the last couple of weeks, the overthrow of Saddam Hussein, perhaps not directly, but by putting so much pressure on his military and putting so much pressure on the country that the Iraqis themselves would do it. At the moment, that appears to be an unfinished piece of business. Is it still something that can be achieved, do you think? And should it be?
I don't know, but certainly we shouldn't galvanize all of our efforts to do that. In this situation, this man is going to be known as the biggest loser in the annals of the history books. And if he can survive after that, a total failure, a total series of miscalculations from the very beginning, I think all the world will be dumbfounded. He won't last long, and our job is, I agree with the speaker, Tom is correct, we're not to be there as the policemen of the world, but we've certainly shown the world that if another nation just slips across its borders and slaps a neighbor down, that's not the way we're going to do business in the world. It's a good tone to set, and leave that country, leave its boundaries. It contains the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia, Nineveh. Let's, you know, instead of the Iraqi propaganda ministry, let's have the Iraqi tourist industry start to put them back together, and people will feel free to go there and visit this cradle of three religions.
Speaker Foley, a final question for you. Before the air war began, there were a great many people who said, let the sanctions work. In retrospect now, and it has been, of course, an enormously successful military operation, do you still think those people were right? Do you think it could have been achieved without all the bloodshed? And there has been mercifully little on the Allied side, but a great deal on the Iraqi side.
Well, history doesn't disclose its alternatives. I think the vote that was taken in the Congress was one that should have been taken, gave constitutional meaning and support for the president's actions. If it had gone the other way and we had sanctions for a period of a year or so, Saddam would have been weakened. It might still have been necessary to engage in the military effort. But the important thing is that after the Congress acted, a majority voting to give support for the president to conduct military operations, the ranks of the Congress were closed. In addition to having the support of constitutional authority, the president had a united country and a united Congress. And I think that was one of the things that brought about a successful prosecution of this war. The question now remains, can we provide that same unity and focus and determination and common effort in addressing the problems of peace? I hope we can.
Speaker Foley, thank you very much. Senator Simpson, thank you. A little bit later in this broadcast, as I mentioned before, we'll be going live to Kuwait City, where I'll be joined by my colleague, Forrest Sawyer. But when we come back, we'll take a brief look at how the theater commander, General Norman Schwarzkopf, planned Operation Desert Storm and how he himself described that planning operation.
During the course of one 60-minute workout, a body can be depleted of vitamins B6 and C, carbohydrates, and valuable potassium, all of which, it so happens, can be replaced by eating one Chiquita banana. So whatever you put out, put back. Chiquita, quite possibly the world's perfect food.
Frank and I have got our friends we ski with in Aspen, our tennis friends in La Jolla, Frank's golfing buddies in Palm Beach, those lovely people we go riding with in Santa Fe, and of course our dearest friends that we go sailing with off the coast of Maine every summer. And our friends that we go hot air ballooning with every year in the Napa Valley.
I've got an uncle in Tuckahoe.
Why are Regis and Kathy Lee making a list and giving it to MCI? Find out March 18th.
Hi, it's me, your TV, with some fast-breaking news. Ready? Here goes. CNN, headline news, CNBC, the Weather Channel, ESPN. That's right, the news you get on cable TV. When important things happen, they happen on cable first. Not just at 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock, all day and all night, all kinds of news. And with cable TV, I can show it to you as it's happening. Cable television, it opens your eyes.
Right now at your gallant men of old, get a sparkling new Cutlass Supreme and something extra will magically appear. Over $1,200 worth of options and $750 cash back. Not bad. And pick up a game card. And you can win a Walt Disney World vacation. Or buy a special Disney vacation package with a 5th night free. So for this, and this, come here. Better make it snappy. Woo! Here I go again.
At Oil Express, we can do a full-service oil change on your car in 10 seconds. Okay, it took 10 minutes. Isn't it worth it? Oil Express.
Friday on 2020, when both Mom and Dad go off to war.
There's nobody else to take care of me.
What happens to the children? 2020, Friday.
Watch Good Morning America for continuing coverage of fast-changing events in the Persian Gulf.
With full reports from ABC News, join us here on Good Morning America.
And we are back live again, reporting from Eastern Saudi Arabia. The location may change, but sometimes the message does not. I'd like to warn our affiliates down the line that since we have just made contact with our correspondent in Baghdad, and we'll be going a little bit later in this program to our correspondent Forrest Sawyer in Kuwait City, joining him live there. We're going to be running over a little bit tonight. First of all, though, however, to Baghdad. And Bill Blakemore, I wonder whether the message that President Bush delivered to the nation just about 3 hours ago now, has that message reached Baghdad, and what is the reaction there?
It certainly has reached Baghdad. We were awakened at first light this morning by small arms fire around the city, machine guns being fired in the air. But they haven't heard it yet from any Iraqi officials or from Baghdad radio. So it would seem obvious that they were listening to VOA, the Voice of America, or the British Broadcasting System. The word is clearly around the city. Everybody's heard it, but they haven't heard it yet from Iraqi leaders.
I mean, beyond the fact, and it's a major beyond the fact that I'm mentioning here, beyond the fact that, of course, thousands of Iraqi men have been dying, this has been a huge defeat for the Iraqis. So when you say there is celebration, are they simply celebrating that the dying is going to end and that the bombing is going to end, or are they still under some kind of an illusion, do you think, that some kind of a victory has been won by Iraq?
No, I don't think there's any illusion. The news has been fairly clear in the last few days about what the military situation is. People here are desperately happy, I think, that the war is over and that the bombing is stopping. We had ferocious bombing here last night. There is another sense, though, Ted, in which people have been saying to us here in Iraq for a long time that, in a sense, there was a victory for them from the beginning just because they held out against 28 nations. But that is for the rhetoric and the discussion to sort out in the next few days as they realize what happened here. I would suspect that a lot of that high emotion, which this traditional expression of firing into the air brings forth, was just relief that it's over.
Well, there are still some bizarre comments coming out of Baghdad, and this one came out. I don't know whether it was in response to President Bush's speech, but it came out over Baghdad radio after President Bush made his speech. They said Iraq would not bow its head to anyone and was as sharp as the edge of the sword. Now, you are extremely familiar with the flourishes of Arab rhetoric. Should we read anything into that at all?
At the moment, I would say no, because if it came out so soon after it, it was certainly at first light here this morning. It's hard to sort out whether that was really, in fact, a response. I think we should wait for a little while to see what the first clearly post-announcement response is going to be.
Do you expect to hear anything from any of the senior officials, perhaps even from Saddam Hussein himself?
We're hoping to, but we expect it could easily be a few hours before we hear anything. I suppose there will be an announcement. There has been 1 or 2 announcements each day for the last 3 days as we've been going up and down on whether there was going to be a ceasefire. It seems to me unlikely that they'd be able to go much longer before saying something.
All right, Bill Blakemore in Baghdad, thank you very much. It has been first in the air and then later, of course, on the ground, an extraordinary operation, unprecedented in its effectiveness. Correspondent John Lawrence now reports on how the war was won and on the man perhaps most responsible for winning it.
The war was won by a combination of factors: firepower, mobility, aggressiveness, deception, technology, and especially courage and clever planning. The chief architect of the operation, General Norman Schwarzkopf, explained today how it was done.
As you know, very early on, we took out the Iraqi Air Force. We knew that he had very, very limited reconnaissance means, and therefore, when we took out his Air Force, for all intents and purposes, we took out his ability to see what we were doing down here in Saudi Arabia. Once we had taken out his eyes, we did what could best be described as the Hail Mary play in football. I think you recall when the quarterback is desperate for a touchdown at the very end, what he does is he steps up behind the center, and all of a sudden, every single one of his receivers goes way out to one flank, and they all run down the field as fast as they possibly can and into the end zone, and he lobs the ball. In essence, that's what we did. When we knew that he couldn't see us anymore, we did a massive movement of troops all the way out to the west, to the extreme west, because at that time we knew that he was still fixed in this area with the vast majority of his forces, and once the air campaign started, he would be incapable of moving out to counter this move, even if he knew we made it.
With Iraqi troops tied down in fixed, static defensive positions, American and Allied forces attacked across the Kuwaiti border, led by U.S. Marines who bore the brunt of the heavy fighting. At the same time, a much larger mobile armored force swept north around the left flank, enveloped the toughest Iraqi divisions, and attacked them from the north and west. The Iraqis were outmaneuvered, outgunned, and overwhelmed. U.S. and coalition casualties were remarkably light.
The loss of one human life is intolerable to any of us who are in the military. But I would tell you that casualties of that order of magnitude, considering the job that's been done and the number of forces that are involved, is almost miraculous as far as the light number of casualties. It'll never be miraculous to the families of those people, but it is miraculous.
One of the reasons for the timing of the ground campaign was the situation in Kuwait. It was time to act. Iraqi troops were kidnapping people, setting fire to the oil fields, and blowing up Kuwait City.
But that pales to insignificance compared to the absolutely unspeakable atrocities that occurred in Kuwait in the last week. They're not a part of the same human race, the people that did that the rest of us are. I've got to pray that that's the case.
General Schwarzkopf was asked his opinion of Saddam Hussein as a military strategist.
He is neither a strategist, nor is he schooled in the operational art, nor is he a tactician, nor is he a general, nor is he as a soldier. Other than that, he's a great military man. I want you to know that.
Finally, the general was asked if he was worried about being prevented from accomplishing all his military objectives by a ceasefire.
I think I've made it very clear to everybody that I just assumed the war had never started, and I just assumed never have lost a single life out there. That was not our choice. We've accomplished our mission, and when the decision makers come to the decision that there should be a ceasefire, nobody will be happier than me.
Karl von Clausewitz, the Prussian soldier philosopher, wrote about the behavior of victorious generals nearly 200 years ago. Nothing seems more natural to them than to stop the combat as soon as the honor of victory is achieved, and to regard all further carnage as unnecessary cruelty. Clausewitz saw that as a mistake. Schwarzkopf does not. John Lawrence for Nightline in Saudi Arabia.
Many of you will not have had the opportunity yet to see
remote control and the button marked stereo or audio. With some TVs, you'll need to look on the set itself for a switch marked stereo SAP. The switch may also be labeled MTS, Audio 2, Audio B, or bilingual.